Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today's one, as you can tell from the title of the video, going to be talking about and cracking on with ironing in basic training. So I'm not only going to be speaking about it, I'm actually going to get the ironing board out, get the iron out and get some kit ironed. We're mainly going to be focusing on the number two, well I say mainly, we are going to be focusing on the number two dress for this entirety of this video, which is the short sleeve and long sleeve light blue shirt, as well as the trousers that go along with them. So, you know, the only reason I say that is because when I was going through basic training, I found that most people found the number two dress the hardest one to iron, mainly because the fabric and especially the shirt, say, even though you go over it, it looks completely flat on the ironing board, you take it off and it seems to somehow crease again. So I'm going to be talking about that a bit more, and simultaneously I'm going to be talking about what things to it sort of expect during inspections, things they're going to be looking out for as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's crack straight on. So I'm going to set up the ironing board downstairs in my living room. And yeah, we'll get on with some ironing. Let's get to it. I'll see you in a sec. Hi everyone, and welcome back. So before we actually get on with any form of ironing, obviously there's two things that you need to do ironing board and iron. So if you firstly talk about probably the most important part, the iron itself. Now this is a steam generating iron. Some people know what this is, some people don't. I didn't personally. I have seen steam generating irons before, but I just never knew that's what they were called. So you can usually tell from the big tank at the bottom, which holds all the water, as you can tell from let's just pull out. There we go. Oh, fuck, that's a bit hard to get out. That bit there. So these are actually probably one of the best ones to get creases out. You know, it's not the fact that these are the only things that will get you out. They're just much easier because the amount of steam and heat they produce to remove creases, it just destroys creases left, right, and centre. This one is a bit of an expensive one. It cost me like 180 quid. So you definitely don't need to spend that much. My first one was like 70, 80. But I'll definitely recommend getting in the steam generating iron nonetheless. And you'll see when it comes to actually ironing, like this sort of power this has. And the one thing that I like about this, if I was to put the lock open, is how light this is. So obviously you might be able to hold sort of a conventional iron by the pinky, but this is like, I don't even virtually feel it. It's just so unbelievably nimble and light. I find when you have these sort of normal irons, which has all the sort of parts in it, so to speak, you know, the water tank and all the other bits, it's much heavier, so I crease easier. I like things being lighter and gliding across. That's just my personal opinion. So I'd recommend getting a steam generating iron. However, any iron will do, okay, but it's just my preference. And then if I just put that down here for a minute. So for the actual ironing board, this is just like a medium-sized ironing board from like B&M, I think I got this from. So the only thing I would say about ironing board, you can get wider ones and bigger ones. Just make sure you get one which comes up to about hip height. Yeah, it's about hip height for me. So I'm not like sort of leaning over and really going for it because I'm a bit taller. If you're obviously a bit taller, try and get a bigger one if you can. But it's perfect height for me. I can stand up straight and do it. You know, the thing is, I don't know if you can get any thinner ones. The only thing I would say, if you can get thinner ones than this, I don't know if you can really sort of tell on the sort of camera how sort of wide it is. It's not very, it doesn't really show it very well, but it is what it is. Only because when you're actually using the body, because you're going to be using the nose of the ironing board most of the time, where obviously the body sort of like lays it out, it holds it together. Whereas if it's too thin, you're not going to get enough surface area on the sort of fabric, so you're going to be ironing way more, moving, and you could crease more. So, you know, I'll maybe go a bit bigger if you prefer the wider ones. I've seen a couple of lads in Horton and also during my phase 2, they have the much bigger ones, and that's just their preference. But that's just, you know, that's just a couple of things to keep in mind about ironings and ironing boards. So the first thing we're going to do is a short sleeve blue shirt. We'll get the blue shirts done first, and then we'll get the trousers done last. So yeah, we'll grab one of them, and I'll see you in a sec. Alright, so I just went and got my short sleeve. This actually just came out of the wash not too long ago. It's not massively creased. However, I don't know if you can really see on the camera. Hopefully you can. There is still quite a decent amount of creases on there, so we can sort of work with it. So the first thing before we actually crack on anything, the way I do it is top down mainly. So I start with the collar, then I move on to the sort of shoulder parts, the epaulette, the yoke as it's known as, and sort of go from there and then do the body and bits like that. So obviously you don't have to follow my way, but if you have no clue what you're doing, then maybe just use this as a sort of a groundwork, if you will, or maybe a baseline or a benchmark, and sort of just work off from there. So the first thing, there's obviously two sides to the collar. This obviously, see this really crease bit? That's obviously going to be folded over. So when you're wearing it, that collar's be folded over to this nice smooth edge. So this is what we're going to iron first. So if you was to take yours, so if I do this, maybe we might be better doing it around here. I'm not going to iron like this, but just to give, so as you can see, there's this sort of seam here, like this line here. I'm going to sort of just like push that maybe just a little bit over it on the board. So see it right there? Okay, so the seam of the things here, it's not dead on. That's the sort of edge of the board. So this bit here sort of runs just behind it a little bit. that's sort of dead on it. So I'm just going to pull it a little bit up from there and just iron it like that. That's what I would personally do. So if I do that on this edge, so all you do, obviously, take your hot iron, I would push it on, maybe do a bit of a steam, but it's just to get it a little bit hot, and then maybe rub it back and forwards a little bit, making sure there's obviously no creases in it. It doesn't really crease very often, and that's all you really need to do. Okay, it's as simple as that. So the next bit we're actually going to move on to now is the yoke bit, okay, which is sort of like underneath the epaulette, which is this bit where your rank slides go. So this is something that they will definitely check on inspections to make sure people are done. Now the best way to do this is use the nose, as I've already stated previously, and you sort of use the button in line with the middle bit of the nose, okay? So if I just manoeuvre that round, okay, so if I actually move the board maybe a bit more closer, hopefully you guys can see it a little bit more. I'll just move the camera a bit down. Hopefully that you guys can see it a bit better. If not, then, you know, just try and picture it as best as you can. Unfortunately, the camera angle is not very good on this. But, you know, if we go from there, okay, so what I would always do is I'll start from the middle. Okay, so this is where the back is. Obviously, this other bit is the upper epaulette side. You want to try and stretch this out as much as possible. And then, actually, before you do anything, you want to sort of hand iron it to make sure it's all flat. Okay, you're not going to get everything perfectly flat. That's fine, but you just want to make sure there's no like ripples or bumps underneath on the other side. So all I'll do is do that, get a bit of steam, and I would pull the fabric, okay? Pull the fabric this side, and I'm not going over this edge because it will create a crease here, but I'm getting quite close to it, okay? So just be careful. Obviously, please keep in mind the iron is very hot, so you don't want to bloody go over your fingers. I don't know why I need to state that, but I bet there's one numpty out there that will do it. Okay, so once that side's done, okay, just get that nice and hot. That looks flat, it is hot, so be careful not to touch it. And I'm going to come round, I might switch hands, and all I'm going to do is pull this bit open. See, it's a bit creased here. Okay, I'm going to pull that so it becomes as flat as possible. I'm just going to blow a bit of steam and go around it, okay? Just keeping an eye on everything else, making sure I'm not creasing anything. Now, the next thing to do is use the tip of the iron here, the little nose point. It's just to get in this little button area. If you didn't know, the reason why there's a groove, and this is, oh, can't really see on the camera, there's a groove here between the sort of heater plate, or whatever it's called, and this plastic coating, is actually to get in buttons. Okay, so I can put that, see, it sort of like runs in the sort of groove the button does. That's the whole point of it. Okay, so use that as much as possible to get around the buttons. Okay, and in a nutshell, guys, that is basically how you do the yoke area. Okay, now you could do this multiple ways. You can now obviously flip it around, which I'll do in a minute, and go for it. However, I wouldn't do that. I would personally get the epaulette, just pull the shirt off. Okay, now I'm just going to line it. See where that's where the sleeve begins. Where it begins, I'm going to put that on the edge to get as much of the epaulette on. I'm going to do that. Just run it back and forward, and just be careful not to go too much, because this will sort of like raise up like this. Okay, you just want to push down, maybe a tiny bit of steam, and just push outwards like this as best you can. And there you go. That'll make it really flat. And then I would always, obviously, keep in mind not to crease it, but luckily we haven't. Okay, so what I'll do next is I would always, okay, button it up, because when it comes to inspections, everything has to be presented as worn. Okay, so as you can see, that's buttoned up. It just saves you so you don't forget. Every time you're done with a bit of you've done a pocket or something that needs to be done up, then just do it up. It makes life easier. So what we're going to do now, okay, now won't worry too much about this area here that we've just done. It is a bit like push up, but it's not creasing, so that's okay. Okay, if it is creased, you will go over it a little bit later. It's just sort of killing it now, and hopefully it will stay like that. But if it needs to go over it, then don't worry. And obviously, please keep in mind that when it comes to iron these blue shirts, you will have to go over them. You can't just iron them one, job's done. Okay, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare to do. Okay, so what we're going to do here is just get the back bit. Okay, you don't have to do this bit, because you will again get another chance to go for it a bit later. But I just like to cover all the sort of top area first. So now we're going to sort of just bring that off and then push it back on with now the other pocket, the other epaulette now in position. So again, I'm going to try and line up the button. You don't have to do this. It just gives me a sort of indication and trying to flat out as best as possible. I want to make sure this is on the board, this bit here. So the same as other one where you pull it, I want to make sure that bit's there, that bit that is sort of can be hidden, if you will, and can be missed. So make sure you're done. So same concept here. I'm going to switch hands. Okay, I'm going to start with this big surface area here, just back and forward. I'm not going to touch this bit was creased, because that will just, or not creased, but sort of like gathered together, as bunched up, because that will crease if I was just go over it like that. So I'm just going to go up to it just before it. Okay, going right here, and then I'll do the button in a sec. So when I pull it, obviously please keep in mind that this sort of bunches up here. So just be careful your iron is. Obviously pull it when your iron's not there. Okay, and just give it a bit of give it a bit of steam, give it a bit of heat, get that around there, and that should be good to go. Now, I would actually sometimes fold that back. It's all right to, you know, some people actually say, you know, when it comes to blue shirts, that you should leave it for a while, let them, because heat creates creases, which is true, but I've never done that, and to be honest, you know, blue shirts crease, and I used to see people like leave them for ages and they still crease afterwards anyway, so I don't know how true that is. Okay, so we're going to do the same this side. Okay, blaster steam. I'm just going to do this one quick now. Okay, so the first shirt, when we get to the long sleeve, obviously I'm going to do a shirt really quick because I'll be showing you most of it on here. The only things I'll show probably take a bit more time is the sleeves, because that's obviously the difference between these two. Okay, so now that's done, actually, you could fold the collar in if you wanted to. I don't. Again, this is just for purposes, you make that decision. Now, we're going to be moving on to the sort of side parts, these sort of main parts of the sleeve. So what I always do first, okay, is always do the sleeves, okay? So, when it comes to sleeves, let me see if I can show you on the camera. Right, so as you can tell from the sleeves, right, there is obviously a big juicy crease right there. That is one I've put in. Now the problem is with this one, it's really wonky. So it's in the center of the sleeve here, but it's sort of going up at an angle like this, and then up more to the right, on my right, you guys left, sort of sleeve area here. That needs to be in the center all the way down. So what I'm gonna do to fix that, okay, I mean, it's not terribly off, but it's just a little bit. Okay, so then I'm going to sort of find where it is. And if you're the first time putting the crease in, this is what you want to do. So see the epaulette, you want to find the center. So that's probably the center. I'm just going to pinch it. Okay, so I'm going to squeeze the fabric together. And the line will, obviously where the crease is, because I've moved on just slightly, it will, so the crease I've already formed will be at the end, but it's just slightly now going off left. So I'm going to pinch that, just shake it out a little bit, give it a bit more inspection. You might want to run your finger on it to create that crease or whatever. I personally don't. I'm just going to pin that bit down, okay, and pin that bit down as much as possible. Obviously, if you've got smaller hands than me, you might not be able to do that, so just find your own way of doing it. So I'm just going to now push really hard. Okay, so now that crease has been sealed. I'm going to blast just a tiny bit of steam. You don't want to do too much, because obviously what does steam do? Remove creases. Okay, so I'm just going to blow it a little bit just to get that heat on. I just burnt my fingers in, so don't do that. Obviously, be careful when you're ironing, guys. I know one numpties out there is going to burn their fingers. Just be careful. It does happen, okay, but just do the best you can. So now I've done that, what I'm going to do next, okay, I'm going to use the iron as weight, okay, otherwise you need to, because the sleeves can be a bit annoying. So I'm just going to get right up to this sort of, this armpit bit here, or this sort of shoulder armpit bit, whatever you want to call it. Now when it comes to this bit, okay, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but let me see if I can flatten this out a bit more, because I just moved it. Okay, it can be a bit bunched up at the bottom, I can feel it bunched up there. So if I was to go over that will crease. The whole point of ironing is to try and prevent as much crease as possible. However, it will happen at some point, so don't worry too much. So what I'm going to do is just put my hand underneath it, try and flatten it out. I'm going to move it around. I'm going to be gentle with it, because obviously if I do it too hard, it will then crease, because your hand is almost like acting like an iron, if you will. So I'm just going to do that and then shake it out. That's okay. Okay, it's still bunching up here, but that's on the top bit. That's not on the bottom. That's the whole point here. So what I'm going to do is bring that through and just iron it a little bit. Okay, looks like I thought I was going to crease that bit then, but that's actually come out absolutely perfect at the minute. So I'm just going to go over that. You could, in theory, do two hands. I do this with my trousers and really push along it. Okay, it will create like a line here. I don't know if you guys can see that. There's a line where the iron's been. Again, just go over that very gently and it's gone. It's not really a crease. I don't know what it is. Obviously, be careful not to burn your shirts. But as you can see, now that crease is absolutely razor sharp. I don't know if you can see that right there. That's what you want. Okay, so now moving on to his actual body. Now, the reason why I do that is just so I don't forget the sleeve. Believe it or not, I have forgotten the sleeves before. So that's just the reason why I always do the sleeve first. And I find that for some reason, if I do the body then the sleeve, it seems to be somehow more creases. I don't know how that works, but it's just, maybe it's just my skill or the way I do it. So, okay, so the main part, okay, obviously it's going to be, you want the nose to be pushing, see there's like this fabric line where the sort of shoulders and the epaulette is, you sort of want that maybe a little bit over, it's obviously a little bit over here, it's not right on, but just so if you pull against it, it creates a bit of tension. That obviously stretches out the fabric as much as possible. Now the next thing you want to do is hand iron it, okay, you want to hand iron it, go over it, and just make sure there's no sort of bumps, lumps, or anything like that. Obviously if it's his first time around, it might be pretty creased. Again, just do the same concept. So now you could go either this way, that way, or that way, it doesn't matter. Okay, personally for me, I always like this sort of idea of like pushing the creases out of the shirt. And look at that, it's just, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, hopefully you can. But you see like this creased area here to there, it's just completely gone. And that's obviously the quality of the iron, okay? And also it does come into, obviously, your ability to iron as well. However, it's mainly obviously the iron. However, like I said, you don't need to go and spend this money in order to do it. There was people who had normal irons in comparison to me that passed just as well as I did, okay, with all my inspections, so don't worry too much. Okay, so let's just go around the sort of buttons, go around sort of there. Again, utilising that groove in the iron to get in the buttons, okay, but I'm always stretching the shirt out, because if I don't, look, it budges up and stuff, and it could crease. So you're going to do that. And now the pocket. Now, some people like to open the pocket and then use, similar to like the epaulette, where they sort of put this line on the sort of rim of the thing, and then they iron it. I don't see the point in doing that. First thing I'll do is you want to iron the under bit of the pocket. Now, the pocket edge, sort of this bit here, this flappy bit, can easily go, see that there? I don't know if you can see that on the camera. It goes in the groove again. So I'm just going to do that and just blast a tiny bit. Obviously, just be careful not to push it all the way up. But you could even go underneath it, go around it, stuff like that, just to get this pocket done. And that's perfect. Now, for the actual pocket flap area, all you got to do, blast it a bit of steam, give it a bit of rub. Okay, go around the button. Careful not to actually iron on top of the button or anything like that. And, you know, Bob's your uncle. That's completely flat. That is how you want it. You don't need to go through the long process of opening it and stuff like that. Okay, personally, I find that you'll crease it more because you're moving the shirt. You want to move it as little as possible. So, the first thing I'll do is just get what's already on the board. Now, we've got a dilemma. We've got a bit down here, which is hanging off, which we'll get to in a minute. And we've also got this bit here, which is hanging off. Now, you could, in theory, move the shirt. I don't, okay? What I'll do is I'll use the iron as a bit of, obviously, be careful not to just leave it on there. But I'll use the iron as weight, pull the collar out, okay? Like, see, it opens up like that. Use that as weight. I'll pull it really tight. And it's almost, the iron's not actually on the board a minute, or the tip of the iron doesn't. And that works. That's completely fine now. If I was to let that go, it might bunch up and stuff again, but it won't crease unless obviously you go over it with the iron. So it should be fine. Same with this side. There's a little bit, there's just tiny little shoulder bit. Okay. That's it. That's done. Okay. Same for the armpit. I'll stretch it out. Okay. And I'll really pull it. Obviously, you see the shirt was moving then. I'm just pulling enough, using the iron as a weight, going over it. Boom, boom, boom. Last bit of steam. Obviously, careful with your fingers when you do that. And that's it. It's done. Now we've got a bit of an issue, okay? So, I don't know if you guys can see on camera, but there's a little bit of heat creases. Now, it can happen. Sadly, there's no temperature gauge on this, so you can't actually change the temperature, okay? All you got to do is just blast it and you go over it. The thing is with blue shirt, guys, you're going to have to go over them. I've never met one person that's ironed it, like, sort of completely from wash or scratch, and, you know, that's the sort of, like, they're done with it. They have to keep going over it because for some reason these fabric creases. So, if I was to actually take this off, okay, I don't know if you guys can see if there's any creases. This looks pretty good in a minute. But there's like, I feel like heat creases here. It might be quite, let me see if I can get this on the camera. It might be quite hard to see, but there's like a few heat creases here. That's not too bad, but again, you want to, if they're inspection standard, you want to get rid of them as much as possible. Okay, so now moving on to the next bit. So what side did we just do? We just did this side. So what I'll do from this bit is I'll actually move it around, flip the pocket. So now I'm doing the back side of that plate, okay? And it's the same concept. So the actual pocket, the actual sleeve here is acting like a bridge. So when I pull it, see there's like a bit of tension here. It's not moving. That's what you sort of want. And then once you get to that point, just sort of manipulate it, pinch it around, flatten it with hands. Obviously, if there's a like, sort of a bunch here, you don't want to then go over your hand because it will crease it. So, but if there's like a little bobble here, if you can see that, you can just pull it and just slowly get your hand over it and just make it as flat as possible, okay? It is a bit wonky, it's a bit like this, but that's fine, okay? Because the most of the seam is on. Okay, for maybe you want to, there you go, down the seam is fully on. But again, it's just awkward. Sometimes you can't get it perfect, but just, again, do the best you can. But for argument's sake, just to give you the basics, this will be fine. Okay, it's the same concept, fly up the steam, it's completely disappeared. Go again, completely disappeared, all done. In a day's work, okay. Then again, same in the armpit, I pull it out on this bit, so it's obviously on the reverse side. Get right in that corner bit, maybe just pull it out a little bit. I am going really in depth in it. Okay, but this is what I was doing for my final inspection, just to sort of cover all areas. So some people will say like, oh, don't move it until it's cooled down. I don't really care. You know, I did move it. If you want to be really like 100% sure, then maybe don't give it like 5-10 seconds to cool a bit down and then go for it again. But, you know, I'm only doing this for demonstration senses. So we're just going to power through this back bit because, you know, you guys get the idea of it. Okay, now we're going to move on to the back plate, okay, of the other side that we haven't done yet. Okay, so I'm just going to manipulate it. The best thing about shirts that you want to do is to make sure that you are more sort of like manipulating and hand ironing than actually ironing itself. It's similar to when I worked in a construction company. You know, they always said like, measure twice and cut once. Okay, so you want to take that concept, make sure the preparation is done more. It's going to make your life so much easier. Okay, so the seams there, roughly, yeah. So I'm going to start here, go all the way down, bosh, Bob's your uncle. So I'm just going to touch between my legs, because this wire actually runs onto the thing and sometimes can crease it. So I'm just going to move that out. It is a bit of a nightmare, the hose or whatever it is, wire hose. I'm going to do the same as the other one, so again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Okay, where you might want to take a little bit more time to get it right. Now, the next thing I'll do differently to the other one is I wouldn't then just move it on. I'm going to take this off gently, best I can. Okay, then I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to visually inspect my sort of what do you call it? My sort of line, if you will. And it is a little bit wonky, this one, I think. So I'm just going to redo it again. It does happen after sort of like, because when it comes to, when you get to your phase 2, I'm not, obviously I am ironing and stuff and keeping my kit up to date, but I'm not doing it really as strict as what it was in final inspection, when I'm making sure literally the crease line was in the center. But for the arguments of this video, I'm going to make sure I do it right. Okay, so I've got that roughly, seems roughly about right. Yeah, it seems roughly about right. It's a bit awkward because I've already got it creased in. This sort of crease wants to go somewhere else, but hey, doesn't matter. It's got to do what I say to do. Yeah, it's about right. So, same thing again. Finger, okay, rub it flat, nice and flat. There's no bobbles underneath, okay, I can't feel it, so that's all flat. We're going to start here again, boom, straight on, okay. I'm now really pushing down on this, okay, to the point that the freaking ironing board is bending almost. Don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it feels like it's going to snap in a minute. I'm not that strong though. So I'm going to just run it back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. Obviously, I didn't do this on the other one, but I just do it to make sure. And then, obviously, careful because the fabric's hot. I'm just feeling that it's really, really sharp. So that's what I like to see. Now, we're just going to deal with it like similar to the other one. Again, I'm just going to do this quick. You guys already seen how to do it. Okay, so it's okay to actually, what you could do is actually go over it again while doing the body. Okay, so you don't have to like really get the, you could just go over it like that and push back down again. So obviously be careful not to crease anything. That's the whole point of ironing in a technique sort of way, instead of just sort of a free-for-all, is to prevent the amount of times you have to iron, in the sense of like the timing to iron, I mean. Now, that's perfect. Okay, that sleeve is completely flat. Now if I actually show the crease, now it could have tram lines on it because we already had a crease, but I think we might have gotten rid of it. Nope, that looks absolutely fine. As you can see, a really decent sized crease. So, now similar to the other one, we're going to use the pocket, or not pocket, sorry, we're going to use the sleeve of the arm to create a barrier, to create a bit that sort of like, creates a bit of tension to make sure it stretches the fabric out as much as possible. Okay, so you're just going to hand iron it out now. Okay, I'm going to try and sort of rush through this as fast as possible because now, again, we've already covered this bit, but just to give you an idea. Now, the only thing I would say is about this is the buttonholes. It's just pull this out and just run it all along. Okay, just run it all along. Do that first, actually, probably do the best. And then you can focus on doing the actual main part of the fabric, just stuff like that. So just gonna rub that on. Yep, done, done. Get that one done. Pull that bit out. Do the armpit again. Even though I've done the armpit bit sort of last, that doesn't mean you should do it last every single time. If you want to be really methodical and you want to be sort of like, make sure you do it the same way every single time, then find your way of doing it. But for me, don't have to. Okay, so just gonna bash this through. Okay, pull that bit out. Make sure I'm careful not to crease that. Okay, bang, 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 and done. Bob's your uncle. So that's basically in a nutshell how to do a short sleeve blue shirt. So I just want to show you one thing. Sometimes on the back of the shirts, oh, I was about to drop that then. On the back of the shirts, as you can see, there's actually a pretty nasty crease here. Okay, this sort of area here, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, I can't really see from my angle. That can happen. All you would do is just go over it again. So this time, obviously, I'll do that. Obviously, grab it, flatten it out. Do the same on the back now. You don't have to get it like perfectly on there. Just get on there and then pull it, iron it. You are going to get creases over and over again. You just have to keep going over it. So if you now see the back, because obviously you've been ironing it, it can also crease a little bit more, like there, as you can see here. I don't know if you can see it, actually, if I lay it flat. And this is an annoying thing. When you lay it flat, it looks like there's no creases, but there's some like here, a tiny little one here. Okay, you just have to keep going over it, guys. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things with the blue shirts. They are a bit of a nightmare, hence why people hate them. When we was doing final inspection, there was people literally up to spending 3-4 hours on their shirts because they kept just having these heat creases and other creases everywhere. Obviously, for this video, otherwise it'd be like 5 hours long if I was to really make a shirt perfect. But that's pretty good overall. Just gonna need to go over it if I was doing final inspection. But for obviously phase 2, that would be absolutely fine. So we're gonna quickly move on to the we're going to move on to the long sleeve. I'm going to focus more time on the actual sleeves itself and then power through the other ones. Okay, so yeah, I'll get that done and I'll see you in a sec. All right, guys, and welcome back. So as you can see, this is a very, very creased long sleeve shirt, which is, great because, long sleeves are really not my sort of forte. So without further ado, we're going to crack straight on. So we're going to start from the thingy again. I'm just going to rush through this bit, okay? When it comes to short sleeves, though, the only thing is that when it comes to sleeves, which I'll show you, okay, at some point, is that there's like these sort of like, I don't know what you would call them, but like sort of like trenches or reservoirs is our sort of, maybe a terrible nickname actually, but basically on the cuff of the sleeve, there's like these sort of pre-put sort of lines. I don't know what they're used for personally actually, but they're basically a right pain in the ass. Okay, what the problem is, if you iron on one side of the sleeve, and I'll again when it comes to, the one side of the sleeve, I mean not sleeve. I don't know what I'm talking about. If you iron on one side, it would actually put creases in because of those sort of like fissures or trenches, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and it can be a right nightmare. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you basically the best way to do it. However, please be aware that long sleeves are really not my strong suit. So a sort of a piece of advice: if you have someone in your room, okay, that's really good at ironing. Fortunately, I was good. Again, I'm not really sort of tooting my own horn, so to speak, but I was good at polishing, ironing. I was good at most of it. Get people to. The one thing I wasn't good at is actually making your bed. It's not necessarily I was bad at it. It's just I couldn't be bothered. I hated making my bed. At one point during final inspection, I got one guy to do, because he just couldn't do his blue shirt. I said I'll offer to do his blue shirts if he does my bed to inspection standard. Which some people are like, that's a fantastic deal because they found making beds really easy. Okay, I just hated the process. And to be brutally honest, he was better at me than at making them. So I basically said, look, I'll do your blue shirts and I'll do, you just make my entire bed, like everything, like box fold, and also box fold things as well. So to me, it was just ironing, so it was a piece of piss. Whereas, I did have to go over it a couple of times, which is, it's just one of those things. But fortunately, I did actually get them done quite quick, which is obviously a benefit. So I'm just going to rush through these sort of areas that we've already covered. Again, it's the same concept, guys, as a short sleeve when it comes to the yokes, the buttons, the epaulette, all that stuff. I'm not going to spend hours on end because I rarely wear long sleeves now, only during sort of the special occasions. But again, the concept is still the same. Now, what I'm actually going to do first is actually get the bodies done. Actually, no, sorry, we'll do the sleeve. I was going to say do the body so we can focus on the sleeve more, but we'll stick to what I normally do. Okay, so as you can see, this is a really, really creased sleeve. Okay, so again, first one I do is inspect it. That crease is absolutely miles off. Okay, let me just double check that. So as you can see, the crease ends here. Okay, it needs to be like here. So it's not like, that's why I say it's miles off. It's not miles and miles off, but it's a decent size off. Now, what I meant by these sort of like fissures or whatever you want to call them is like these bits. Okay, let me see if I can flip this around a bit more. So you got like this sort of like two. So that's where like the sleeve connects with the what do you call it? The crease. However, there's this like extra one here. Okay, I don't know what that's used for. I don't know if that's used for the crease as well. Like you get to choose, but that can be a right nightmare. And obviously, you've got this bit. You've got all these cuff bits here. It's a right pain in the arse. However, we're gonna get through it slowly but steady. So when it comes to the sleeve, I would use sort of like the nose of the board to sort of create some tension. Make sure that all of the crease area is going to be on the board. You don't want it hanging off like this. You want to make sure it's on and just create a bit of tension. Okay. Now, the complicated bit is that I can't hold the entire sleeve. Believe it or not, my fingers are not that long. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to half and half it. Okay, I can hold up to this bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure I pull it. I just grab as much as I can in it. Okay, and then I'm going to sort of like, careful obviously not to burn your hand. I'm just going to do that. So again, please make sure your hand is out the way before you do that. I know there's one donut that will flip and do it and burn themselves and then blame me for it. It's not my fault if you burn yourself. Get a better, kid. I'm only joking. So, just going to go back and forward, back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. I'm just really pushing in that crease. Now, I'm going to use the iron as weight. Okay, I'm going to pull this bit end here. Okay, I'm just going to blow a bit of steam and I'm just going to run it along. I'm sort of setting out the foundations of the sort of crease. Okay, so I did go over that a little bit. That's fine. Okay, just make sure you try not to go in there as much as possible because it will crease because like, it bunches up there. Just do the best you can. So now, once that's done, I'm going to do one last final big one. 2 hands down. See the board actually bends. Obviously, careful not to break your board. But this is just to sort of really get that crease in. But when I get to this point, I'm going to try and shift it around so I'll miss this sort of area here. So I'm shifting it around and I'm just using the nose. Obviously be careful because there's not a lot of weight on it anymore. It could crease. So maybe when you start shifting it, obviously transfer the weight to your hand. Be careful, it is still hot. But again, it is a right nightmare to do. So that's basically done. Now, for the bloody annoying bit, making sure, now, the truth be told, this is going to be really difficult to do. This will take you the longest to do, okay? But we're going to spend as long as needed to try and get at least a baseline down that you can get the first part sort of ironed and then just focus on making it perfect, obviously, as good time. So, as you can feel, there's this huge, like, there's massive amounts of creases on this side. So what I'm going to do is this. We've put the crease in, that's fine. I'm not too fussed about this particular area that's sort of been added when we've gone over it. It's just sort of benefited from it. I don't care about that crease in. Okay, so all that I was doing is focus on the big crease. Okay, so if this creases, that's fine. What we're going to do is this. We're going to drag, I'm going to drop the actual sleeve off. I'm going to pull the sleeve up until, look, there's a tension. Okay, but the problem is with that, your sleeve is hanging off. So I'm just going to pull it up a little bit. Okay, so it adds a bit of weight to it. Now, we're going to try and stretch out the sleeve as much as possible. I'll personally have this unbuttoned. Okay, so you've got the seam here, right? You've got the seam here, right, of the other, that's where the sleeve ends. You want to try and just do the best you can. You're not going to get it perfect. Okay, just try and get that as flat as possible. Okay, so now I'm going to run my hand over it. I can feel like bumps underneath here. So underneath here, I can feel it. So maybe you might need to go across it. Again, you want to measure twice, cut once. So you want to go along that, go along here, go along there. Just do the best you can. Okay, go along there. Just, again, you're not going to get it perfect. This is a right nightmare to do. However, like I said, if there's someone in there who's very good at ironing it, maybe, you know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, sort of like help each other out, if you know what I mean. Do something for them if you're good at polishing or whatnot. But, you know, I'm going to try and teach you guys the best case you can be as self-sufficient as possible. So, that's not perfect, okay, but we're going to roll with it because otherwise we'll be spending it here forever. So I'm going to start with a bit that's already ironed and flat. We know that this bit's not really flat. As you can see, the bulge, sort of bulgy, hilly bit, whatever you want to call it here. So I'm going to do, go on here, blast some steam. Okay, just give it a good old rub. Pull this bit out here. Get that right in there. That's all good, that's all good. Okay, and just do this bit here. It's fine to break the sleeve up into bits. Okay, it's going to be really difficult to do it all in one. No one's that perfect. So what I'm going to do now, okay, just drop the iron down. Now we've done this area, I'm going to focus on this sort of area here. So all I'm going to do is manipulate these sort of sleeve. Be gentle here, obviously, because you've already done it. See, I've put a little crease in here. That can happen. Maybe stretch each sides out. Just keep doing it until you find what works for you. Okay, again, even though I've done it and bloody past basic training, I'm still trying to figure out the best way to do it. It is a right nightmare. So that actually looks pretty flat, to be fair. That's pretty good. Okay, I'm going to roll with that. It's not perfect, but it's the best that we can get in a minute. So I'm just going to be a bit careful of the bits that are still a bit like hilly, a bit bunched up. Just careful not to crease them. Now for the really tricky bit. But the way I'll do this is actually drop the sleeve over. Because we've done that bit, that's fine. We're focusing on this bit now, okay, which is where the sort of seam is. So you could, in theory, if you wanted to, sort of like maybe shake it up and get the seam there if that's your thing, but you probably don't need to, only because it's sort of like bulging round and things like that. See, it's like it's not perfectly there. It's gonna be quite difficult to do. So maybe just maybe just again just get it as best you can. I'm just gonna focus on getting rid of these because these bits are not really visible. So for inspections, they're not really gonna focus on that too much unless you get a right arsehole, which you do get sometimes, but most of the time they're all pretty good. Okay, so I'm just gonna blast that with a bit of steam. That's all good. And I'm just going to be careful, but I'm probably going to put a crease in this bit, an unnecessary crease because it's not on the seam. Has it put a crease on it? That's not too bad. Nah, it's alright. It's right on the seam, so you won't be able to see it. So that's probably like how you would do the sleeve. Now, if I was to turn it around, you're going to have some decent sized creases. Now, this is the side that you have to be very, very careful of. Okay, so what I'll do... Okay, firstly, make sure you're not losing that crease in the sleeves. Just stretch out. It looks pretty flat at the minute. But as you can see, I don't know if you can see on the camera, there's this juicy crease here. So how are we going to get rid of that? So the first thing you want to do, again, set up, maneuver, make sure it's all good. Now, if you feel like it's all good, what I'll do is I'll put my hand there. Okay, I can feel the sort of, do you know that line bit that was here on the cuff? This bit here? Okay, I'm going to be careful of that. As you can see, this is already creasing again. So again, this is why it takes an absolute time and a half to do. But this bit, it sort of ends here. So I know if I put my finger there, I could do it up to there. Okay, that's gone. Now, This bit is sort of like right on the seam area. So this is where it sort of track runs. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to pull it and lift it up. See, like elevates it up a little bit. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. And all I'm going to do is not push on it. I'm going to blast steam, blast steam, blast steam, and just ever so slightly touch it, like ever so slightly. Okay, so I'm not pushing down on it. And if I lay that down, the crease is virtually gone. Okay, on this side there's a bit of crease. There's nothing there. So I'm going to put the iron on it. Again, I'm not really pushing hard. I'm just blasting it. This is why steam generating iron's perfect, because it's going to bloody produce so much steam. Sometimes you can actually just hang it up, not even iron it, and just fucking steam the whole thing and it's done. Okay, so now if we flip that back over, it's going to be creased again. So this is, as you can sort of get the gist now, this is going to be a long process. It does. But it will get to a point where it will get smaller and smaller and it will be acceptable. So, another oil then. Oh, flipping hell. So I'm just going to get under here. Really, again, I'm like lifting up and just using the nose and blasting loads of steam on it to make sure. But just be careful, get that bit done. But I'm not going to spend too long on this. I'm not going to do the other side, guys, because again, the concept's still the same. I'm going to be here forever. But you get the idea of what to do, yeah? So basically, that's really it when it comes to the sleeve. Okay, you're going to have to keep on it. So actually, at the minute, that's not too bad. So as you can see, that's one side. It might look a bit creased, but that's not. If I lay that down, there is a bit of a crease there. So again, I'll have to go over that. And then there's not many creases here, just on these bits. But it's just, guys, it just takes time, okay, and patience. So I'm not going to do the rest of the bodies because it's the exact same as a short sleeve. I'm not going to bore you and waste that and waste some time. So that's basically how you do it. Again, it's not perfect. If I was to try and actually get rid of that, that would be actually kind of nice to do. Because if I can get rid of that, then at least that's half acceptable. I say half acceptable, it's actually pretty acceptable. So again, we're going to flatten that out. I don't know why this bit's actually happening. It's got even worse. I'm just going to oh, it keeps bending here, that's why. Hold on, let's see if we can get this. Is there something? No, there's nothing underneath. I don't know why it's doing that. Sometimes you can iron creases in, but as long as you run your finger on them and there's like no crease there, then that will be acceptable. Okay, I know they say, oh, there's got to be no creases. If you've shown that you've obviously ironed it, and it can be like up to the person's discretion. If they're feeling nice, they won't mark you down for it in inspections. But that's half decent. There's a little bit on the sleeve that they might pick you up on. Again, it is different, but mostly you can see that is ironed. Okay, I can't really show it on this side if I can bend it around. It is pretty ironed, okay? So that's going to be the long sleeve. Now I'm going to chuck that away because we don't need it. We're going to move on to the trousers to finish up. And yeah, this is actually the easiest part, thank God. So yeah, I'll see you in a sec. Okay, guys, welcome back. Obviously, please keep in mind, I forgot to mention on the long sleeve shirt, is on the cuffs, obviously make sure they're done up. Everything has to be presented as worn. Same as the trousers. When you're done, obviously you need to do these sort of, obviously it's open at the minute, you should do the flies and obviously connect that together to make sure that's presentable, okay? So the trick for these are actually quite damp. You can iron kit when it's damp, not maybe soaking wet. Some people actually prefer it when it's damp. I don't really care, to be honest. It doesn't really make a difference to me. So what we're going to do, open it up, okay? You're going to turn these inwards, okay? So see these bit that clips on? So these are the bit that slide in to here like that, okay? So you want them out and you want to fold them in, okay? Then you want to do the exact same the other side, okay? So see this bit that these clips onto the housing, you want to flip that, and connect them together, okay? So you connect them together. So I don't know if I can actually show you. See, like here, and then here, you want them, so they're like touching the either side. So they're not actually like connected, as you can see there, they're just touching. Okay, if you do that, it will naturally put the trousers in the location that you're supposed to do the creases, okay? So you pinch the back, or grab the back, and keep that sort of formation. I'll show you once again. I can get that right. See that formation there, the sort of bit here that I'm talking about? You hold it in, fold it in, and then lay it while maintaining that sort of position. Okay, so again, these are quite damp, so I washed them today. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop them down now. Okay, it might go out of position, but that's fine because we're naturally on our crease line now. Okay, now obviously when you put your first trouser creases in, there should be like a sort of crease already there. But what you want to do is when you get there, you want to just sort of make sure, because there's already a crease in here, this is not very strong. Okay, it sort of like comes up to this sort of like pocket area here where it ends sort of like between the two arse cheeks, right in the sort of split line in the middle. That's sort of where the crease will go, in between this sort of line here, the seam, and the sort of end of the pocket here is like dead center is like where it sort of goes-ish, or maybe more towards a pocket actually, more than maybe dead center if you want to be really specific. So what I'm going to do, for me, I'm just going to fill with my old creases. You will need to put a crease in. So the benefit of that is you get to choose. I guess you can, but again, there should really be a sort of crease already there to give you a bit of guidance as where to go. So the only thing is with this is I think there's a tram line in this one because I keep filling two lines. So the only way to get rid of tram lines is just go over them, guys. Obviously, similar to like the ones, do you know, in the other sleeves where they weren't in line with the epaulette? obviously you need to just shift them around, and technically that is a tram line, but they're not there any yet. But if I find something here, I'll actually show you. So what I'm going to do first, obviously off camera you can't really see this, but I'm starting off at the sort of where the sleeve around your ankle is. I'm going to push really hard. Well, simultaneously, as you can see my hand here, I'm pulling, okay? And I do this all the way up, okay? So you're pulling it to maintain that crease line, because the reason why people create tram lines is because obviously if they're not making sure that the iron is like the fabric is following the iron, so to speak, it will sort of like curl round and you'll iron an extra line in. So you don't want to do that. So what your sort of hand does is it follows it along and feels for the crease. Is it in line with that? So if I was to just go over it now, it'll be fine. Or is it, do I feel the line like a bit under it? So I need to sort of manipulate around before the iron gets there. It's sort of like a guide, if you will, for your iron. So I'm just going to really push down. So we're going to do, so I've actually felt it there, the sort of, the line, line is actually here at the minute. So that's not perfectly on. So I'm going to just roll that round like that. Okay, and then just make sure that, hold it down like that. Go back on it and really push. Like really, really push on this one. Because I'm trying to make sure that the fabric gets into that line. And make sure that it's not all, and now this is the bit where it gets a bit tricky. You really want to run your iron back and forward quite a few times on the pocket bit. Really back and forward. Really hard, okay? Now, if you're happy and you think the crease is all set and ready to go, similar to like the sleeves, 2 hands and flipping push that shit, okay? So you want to push it, making sure, did I just put a double crease in that? I might have done. I don't think so, actually. I'll have to check that, hold on. I think because I had it in the place, but I didn't do it properly. Oh no, that's just a crease that I need to get rid of. It's basically a crease from washing, that's fine. Oh, almost scared of myself then, so make sure it's back. Now it's all out of line again. So I'm sort of like shaking it, flipping it back, okay? No, that's fine. That's sort of where we want it. This bit's a bit of a nightmare though. So I'm just gonna make sure it's twisted round. Hold that actually there. So if you twist it round, make sure you're holding it, okay? And you're just gonna run that back. Just make sure I got it right. And then all I'm gonna do is push 2 hands, go, all the way to the end, okay? Or if you wanna do it 1 hand and make sure that I just burnt myself, ouch. Or you wanna make sure that, you know, you can do it 1 hand, that's fine. I'm just going to go over it loads and really push. I mean, I'm talking about push, okay? And just go over it maybe 1 more time. If you feel like you've gone over it enough, do 1 more for good luck, okay? All the way up to the top as best you can. You're not going to get that perfect, as best as you can, okay? And then back down, and that should be good. Now, if I feel that is pretty razor sharp. However, it could probably do with a bit more. I don't think there's any tram lines in it from what I can see, which is good. So now what you do now is you now flip it back over. So what I did initially actually is I flipped this over. I don't know if you guys saw that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is flip this back to its position. I'm now going to maneuver it to this side. Okay, we're going to focus on this side now. So we're going to flip this back over. Okay, it's come a bit undone, but that's, again, that can happen. So just put them together. Okay, put it all back together again. Just shake it out, and that's it. It's back to normal again. You don't have to get this perfect, like these two absolutely in line, like there's a bit flappy out. It's just to give you that guideline. So now we're going to flip that open. Okay, now what you could do, which I didn't actually mention in the other one, if you feel like your trousers are a bit creased, like on this area here, we'll get to that when we come to it, but on here, just flatten it all out and just fucking go over it quick. The good thing about the fabric of the trousers is really like sort of maneuverable. They don't really crease very easy, hence why you have to really push on the when you're trying to make the creases, the thick creases, I mean, or the sharp creases. The good thing is about it though, it doesn't crease when you in the areas you don't want it to, if that makes sense. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to just manipulate this round. I don't really care about this side. You could let that flap over if you want, because we've got our position that we want. Okay, so again, we're going to start there. Now the thing is with this, because of this pocket area here, see this like little lip area, that's where it comes up to. So I'm putting my thumb in that area and I'm grabbing the right end bit of this thing here and I'm pulling both at the same time. And that, if I feel the crease, that should be all good. Again, if you have to put your crease in, there should be like a sort of guideline already there. So it should be all right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pinch and pull. See, it's like this is not moving here, or this bottom bit. So if I started doing that, see, it's starting to move. Okay, that's because I have the iron on it. Okay, so if I just reset that, get it back to where I was. And that's what you want. You sort of hands sort of guide it and the iron acts as the weight. Okay, so if I push that, give it a bit of steam, really push down on it. Just be careful. You might want your fingers maybe a bit closer if you want to be a bit more careful. Obviously, don't do that because I've just burnt myself. But before, obviously, you go over it with an iron, you might want to get a bit closer and just follow your hand up if you want to be that. But usually about halfway for me, I get it right on the money. And then usually, because I'm quite confident in it, pull my thumb, okay? The thing is acting as a weight. This is acting as a weight. I'm not pulling in a minute. So when I got that, I pull it, okay? Making sure, if I feel like the crease is not there, put the iron down. Make sure that the crease is there. Okay, it's far more important. I'd rather you guys stop, you know, get the crease gun, not start again, but go back on it, than trying to guess it, because it's way harder to get freaking tram lines out. So I'm actually going to go to the extent of really pull it, so it's almost lift it up. Obviously be careful not to sort of bulge this area up, or sort of, what would you call it, sort of like bump it, if you will, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, I'm going to blast a bit of steam just to get this thing really hot. I'm just going to go back and forward. Okay, I'm really pulling this one. I prefer these front bits because I can use that as a bit of lever. And then once I get to that point, obviously move your thumb off, you don't want to burn it, and you want to run the nose into that hole and then really sort of push it. Okay, run the nose of the iron into the hole and really push it. Okay, and then you want to go back, obviously careful not to crease it, go along here, and that feels like that's okay. Okay, I'm just going to double check that, because actually, did I tram line crease that? I don't think so. No, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. That's the horrors about trousers, actually, is sometimes you sit there and go, have I creased it tram line wise? So if I actually show you guys now, okay, as you can see, there is a real difference between creases in a minute. That could probably go over maybe a couple more times, but that's all right. Usually when it's like hilling up, as I call it, like the crease is actually like sort of mohawked up, that's when you know it's a good crease, all right? So it will sort of like create its own little little mountain, or little, whatever you want to call it, little bump, a little mohawk. That's when you know it's doing well. Problem is that I've forgotten what side we've done. What side have we done? We've done that side. So now the side that we've done is now going to be on top. So you'll grab it, flip it over now, and we're going to restart. So I know I'm on the right side because everything will be flipped. So obviously when we started on the other one, we started on this side. That was the back of the trousers. Now this is just the other front one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to roll it round just to see where the crease is. The crease is there. It's really, see, like this is where it begins. So as you can see, that's really far over. Okay, so I'm just going to grab the crease and shake it. Okay, and that's sort of put it in the position that I want it to be. You're going to have to do it a couple of times, guys. It is a bit of a pain, but once you get it set, and once you do it a couple of times, it is quite easy to get right. So again, it doesn't matter if this sort of flaps off. However, it does act as a sort of anchor, if you will, to make sure the position is in the place it's supposed to be. So again, sometimes you like this is bulging up at the bottom area here. It's all like sort of like clumping up. That's going to sort of like put it off. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to iron this side of the trouser leg, this side of the trouser leg. You can't see it in a minute. I'm actually putting the crease in a minute. I'm just ironing this. Okay, it's really easy to iron. Look, that's just done. It's just such a piece of piss. That's why people like trousers more than shirts. And you know, you don't really have to go over it too many times. So I'm just going to inspect the crease again. I think the crease is there. I can't really see it's really gotten rid of it, but if I feel it, yeah, that's about right. It's a little bit twisted there, so I'm going to spin it around. So what I'm going to do now, because I found that the crease is spun around there, my fingers is going to be way more closer where it usually is on the front. So I'm just going to twist it with my fingers and really push. Obviously, be really careful with your fingers here, guys. You don't want to burn them. It is not fun to have an iron burn. Trust me. So I'm okay with this bit here. I don't even, my fingers quite close to that. Obviously, again, the lead on this is getting in the way, so I might just tuck that around my leg to make sure it's all the way. Okay, that didn't make a difference. That's just flapped about around. Never mind. That's why you tuck it between your legs, because that always happens. So I'm just going to keep going back over it, back and forward. Okay, I don't think there's ever such thing as going over it too many times. You want to make sure that those creases are as sharp as they can. If they've got sharp creases, inspections are going to be much easier. I promise you. Okay, so this is it. This should be done now. Okay, so I'm quite confident in that. Yeah, that looks all right. It might be a bit faint. It's a little bit faint on the top bit here. It's not really as strong, so I'm just going to quickly touch that up. The only problem is now the actual, you have to have a bit of the other sort of leg, the other trouser bit on there, because that's what, again, it acts as an anchor. It holds it in place. However, that fell off because we let it go off a bit too much. I'm just going to reset, flip it back over, get it in the line that we want. Flip, flip, flip. That's why you just pull it over. You're not like completely shifting the whole thing. You're just flapping it over like that to keep it as a bit of an anchor. But however, it does happen, so I won't worry too much. Okay, so this was the area here. I'm not going to worry about down there because I was quite happy with it. So I'm just going to blow a bit of steam, but that's it. You don't want to like blow steam the whole time. The whole point of that is really getting your weight on it. Okay, and it is, unfortunately, the worst parts is getting it up the top bit. So the backs, you know, where the pockets are, the back of the trousers, and also the front. The worst bit are the sort of like top areas. That's what usually gets sort of caught up on. But I can feel the crease now. I'm not going to inspect that. I'm quite happy with that. So what you could do here as well, which I wouldn't necessarily not recommend it, but I don't recommend it either. It's a bit of a weird one. Is that you could iron it with it on top. The only reason I don't is because obviously you've got the fabric underneath that could crease it. However, you could lift it up so it's detached, similar to like the sleeve. Blow some, you know, flipping loads of steam. Okay, and that's it. Done. Right, that gets rid. It just makes it look a bit nicer. But generally speaking, trousers are fine. You probably wouldn't need to do that. Okay, so we're going to do a similar concept. Obviously, keep in mind that when you do this, the these sort of crease lines are way much more close together than the sort of front pockets. Just keep that in mind, not just absolutely throw it over. You just want to do a tiny weeny little bit, and it's going to be a bit diagonal. It's going to be like not perfectly flapped over, just because of that. So all I'm going to do, again, just going to go through here. I'm not obviously going like really slow and steady, because I just want to show you, well, first I want to keep this video short as possible, which I know never happens. But I just want to show you guys the basics and then let you guys obviously go off on it and find your own way. Okay, so I feel like the crease is really gone on this one. That washing machine's done me no good. So I'm going to guess I can feel it's sort of, it's a bit confusing actually, because it feels like it's on it, but then I feel like it's on top. Yeah, it's like sort of need to make sure that's all right. We'll go with it. So I'm going to start at the bottom again, make sure my finger's really close to it. Blast a bit of steam, just turn it all, make sure it's all right. Yeah, I think that's, where is it? I think that's more or less there. So yeah, that should be all right now. I think I just had to twist it a bit around, but that's fine. I don't think I've tramlined it. I think I had the bottom bit down, but not the sort of top area. So just going to push back and forward again, back and forward again, back and forward again. Okay, blast a lot of steam, push it forward, push it back. Okay, blast a lot of steam, go. Okay, I think I've actually put a little bit of tram line in here, just a very small one. It's not really a major one. Just a tiny bit of crease there, so that's gone. And literally a blast, just a tiny bit of blast of steam has got rid of that sort of unnecessary crease that we don't need. Gonna go forward, gonna go back. Okay, the line is set now, so I'm not gonna worry too much about holding it. Again, maybe on your way back you might want to just pull it and then really push down, give you that really strong crease. I always say the crease has to be sharp enough that you can shave with it. Right, so just really give it some. You can feel it, because it's like, it just feels, like I said, really sharp. It just feels really sharp. That doesn't feel sharp enough for me. So I'm just going to put some more heat on it and then really push. Go up, heat on it, really push. Go up, heat on it, really push. Okay. And then now, yeah, there you go. That's much better. So that's it, guys. That's basically how to do trousers. If I now show you your sort of like end result, there we go. That's basically it. I don't know if you guys can see there. The line is very good. And then on the back, it's quite difficult actually to sit there and show this one. Where is it? There it is. Okay, again, this one's a bit faint. This one's a bit up here, but it's not too bad, okay? And that's it. That's basically the end of ironing, guys. So I'll head back upstairs, we'll wrap up, and yeah, we'll sort of conclude it. So I'll see you in a sec. Okay, everyone, that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you have found that informative and instructive. I know it's a bit of a long one, but again, I just went into absolute detail as much as possible. And, you know, again, like I've already said, if, you know, you guys have any other ironing methods for anyone else, then please leave it in the comments. If you have any other further questions about ironing, because I know it's a very sort of skeletal, it's a very basic way of ironing, even though we did go in quite much detail, but, you know, there's many different ways you could iron. People say to spray, like a spray bottle. I didn't need to use that because of the amount of steam I've got. However, that's another tool that you could use. However, I don't use it personally. So again, please leave it in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer it for you. You know, just on the last touch on inspections, big thing is make sure everything's worn. Okay, so every pocket's done up. You know, on the PCS, especially the greens, on the bottom of the trousers, you have like these little twister things that you do to sort of just ties up. It's like a lace, if you will. Make sure they're tied up and done. Make sure when you do your cuff and your sleeves, they're on like the furthest one, to really emphasize that it's as worn, because it has to be presented as worn. Okay, so just imagine it. Obviously, on your short sleeve blue shirt, I didn't mention this, I just reminded myself. When it comes to the buttons, you leave the top button, top one open, so it just goes all the way up until the second one. The second one's the last one you put together, the top one stays open. However, on the long sleeve, all the buttons are done all the way up to the top. Okay, so please keep that in mind. They're the two that some people get easy marks thrown off with that. And you're only allowed like 5 minors, and that's a minor of itself. And if you have a minor on sort of each of the blue shirts, then that can be a fail instantly. If you get 2 minors though, on 2 different blue shirts, but none on the other one, they count as minors. However, if you've got 3 minors and 1 on each, it's an instant foul. So please keep that in mind, unless they've changed it since I've been there, which could be the case as well. But anyway, guys, that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you have found that informative and interesting. Again, if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments. But until the next one, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.